Hi, welcome back to another episode of the Men's Shift podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the NBA playoffs, specifically recapping the first round of the playoffs, and we're also going to be talking about the Julio Jones trade that just went down. To begin, what are your thoughts on the Philadelphia-Washington series?
So again, there's not much to be said. Eight seed, one seed. One side was heavily favored in every game, and they had a gentleman sweep, and that's only because Embiid was injured. Again, not really much to say.
Yeah, same. I think Philadelphia is just clearly the better team, and Washington's kind of just in the no man's land, and they don't really have a direction of where they want to go going forward. I think they should try to rebuild, but let's see what they do. All
I
right,
mean, yeah,
moving. Oh,
I really, it's like a lot better. The only option if you really want to win, it's best to just keep rebuilding year after year after year until you get like a young superstar, like a Luka type guy. Again, that's a really tough pill to swallow. But if you really want to win, and especially if you don't have like a big market, which Washington necessarily isn't, because I don't know, they haven't really got any big market free agents. But like, yeah, you need to just keep rebuilding year after year after year. Again, it's a hard pill to swallow, but it's kind of the only way if you're a small market team.
yeah, I kind of agree with you on that point. All right, moving on. What are your thoughts on the New York Knicks versus Atlanta Hawks series?
So I would say this is definitely an upset and quite a big upset because pretty much everyone had the Knicks winning in like 6 or 7 games. Again, this wasn't supposed to be a sweep or anything like that, but in like a sort of long drawn out series, the Knicks were supposed to win. But I guess Trae Young leaned into the whole villain gig and he shut that down really fast. So
Yeah,
yeah.
one thing I wanted to say first was it was just cool to actually have a playoff game in Madison Square Garden because they bring the energy more than any other stadium really does. And then, but yeah, I think Atlanta was just clearly the better team. I think people kind of underestimated how good Atlanta's been just since the All-Star break, and
Yeah, like
it's kind of
Atlanta,
showing.
most people didn't even give Atlanta a chance. So for them to like not win in like seven, like I'd understand if like you had the Knicks in 6 or 7, the Hawks beat them in seven, and Trae Young dropped 60. But no, they just dominated them.
Yeah, it was just like a really quick series, and I think Julius Randle not being a big factor really impacted the Knicks because
He
he
took a
never
lot
really
of
had.
bad shots, like well, not bad, but like low efficiency shots, where he would just take long twos, step back long twos, things like that. Where
Yeah, I think they should have given like some of those shots to other people instead of him taking all the shots,
yeah,
and then
like the mid range can be like really effective. Like if you watch the game yesterday, the Bucks Nets, I don't think I saw. I'm sure he missed, but I don't think with my own eyes I saw Kevin Durant miss a single shot. I didn't watch the whole game, but like I don't think I saw him miss a single shot. He just pulled up from mid range, and nobody could stop him. Julius Randle isn't Kevin Durant, so why take all those mid range shots? Like not all, of course you can take mid range shots, but he takes too many difficult ones.
yeah. What are your predictions for the Philadelphia versus Atlanta series?
So
Although
as
we've
of
kind
as
of
of
seen game
this
one.
time, where game one is going on, and the Hawks are giving it to the 76ers, and the Sixers are healthy, Hawks aren't, and if that's any indication of the future, I think we might have an upset. I think Hawks in 6 or 7 probably, because again they're not getting swept, or they're not going to beat them as easily as they beat the as easily as they beat the Knicks. But you never know. Like I still think it's going to be a win, but a long drawn out one.
Yeah, I think for sure. I think the Sixers just the amount of talent they have. I don't see them like losing in 4 or 5, but I'm predicting Hawks in 6 as of what we've seen from the first game. Uh, all right, moving on. The Milwaukee versus Miami series. What are your thoughts on that series?
I'm honestly surprised. Like the Bucks played out of their minds in games 2, 3, and 4. They shot the lights out. Game one, I thought was gonna be like again. I thought this was gonna be one of those long drawn out series because of course Miami was a much better team last year, and I didn't know like Drew Holiday is good and all, but like is he really like he's like the main change they've had, the roster change they've had. So is Drew Holiday really gonna be like the guy that does it for them? So again, this certainly wasn't anticipated because you went from basically getting swept to now being the sweeper which is kind of unprecedented given, like, again, they didn't bring in a new superstar or anything like that. I guess their roster makeup was not the roster, their coaching and adjustments and things like that were better. But yeah,
I think the other question you might want to ask is did was the Miami finals a fluke because it could have been because of the bubble because
I don't think
Miami
it was a fluke.
had I think Miami kind of just had a little bit of worse season this year than they did last year, and
Okay, it was a lot
couple that
worse.
yeah, and coupling that with just Milwaukee's, I think Milwaukee adjusted towards like how
I think
Miami played
Milwaukee, if
and
this was a
prepared better.
normal season, I think Milwaukee would have won this series in like 6 or 7. And I'll tell you why I think that happened. I think it kind of seems odd that both the that like injuries and all these things are happening so much to teams that really made it far. So let's look at all the conference finals teams from a year ago. The Nuggets lost their starting point guard who played like an MVP last year, and they really have no chance to win the finals. The Lakers obviously just got bounced by the Suns, and they had like short off season. They battled injuries, all that. The Celtics were terrible. They lost Jalen Brown as well, and the terrible compared to last season. They were so close to making the finals last season. This season, nowhere near that. And the final team was the Heat. So, and the Heat obviously underperformed and got swept. So, for all four teams that played extensively into the bubble and had a short off season and all that, they've all dealt with injuries. They've all dealt with all these things. And a team like for the Nets, for example, Kevin Durant hadn't played in such a long time. James Harden had played, and uh, James Harden had played, but he had like an Iron Man type thing where he wouldn't miss many games. He wouldn't have like serious injuries, and even he's getting injured and all that stuff. So I think maybe like it wasn't a fluke.
Yeah, maybe you're right about that.
Okay, so what were you? I think we should probably move on to the final series in the in the Eastern Conference. That was Nets Celtics. What are your thoughts on that?
I think for sure Jason Tatum had a pretty good series, but Brooklyn was just a better team,
No,
and
I
I
don't
mean,
think.
it's not.
Okay, Jason Tatum. So the Nets, the only way. So one thing that would have had to happen for the Celtics to win a game is if Jason Tatum got outplayed by Durant, Harden, or Irving, they have a 0% chance of winning. So, like, if one of those guys gets 50, he better get you 50, 55. If one of those guys gets you like 40, 45, you're pretty much already lost. But then Jason Tatum needs to get you 60 or something like that. And I think the game they won, he did that. The other games, he probably outplayed one of those guys, like the best guy on that team, but it wasn't by a lot. So I think that's why they lost. Of course, not a big deal. They were obviously on demand. And even if they had Brown, it's not like they could have won.
Yeah, yeah. But I think Boston, their team, they haven't really done a good job like over the last few years because they haven't pulled the trigger on any stars, and now
That's such a big mistake.
Jalen Brown, especially Kemba, like the Kemba signing, obviously it didn't look that bad, and you can't really blame them for the signing. But at the same time, he's had a really horrendous last few years, basically ever since he signed with the Celtics, and um, the Celtics don't have a reliable third option after Brown and Tatum to
I think for
rely
the
on.
last like 2 or 3 years, they should have had reasonable chances. And I think for the last like so last year they're in the conference finals. The year before that they were in the semifinals, and the year before that they were in the conference finals. I think they should have made the finals 2 out of 3 of those years. Especially like the last Kyrie Irving year, they got absolutely destroyed. There was nothing they could do. I think honestly,
No, I think they should have also made a bigger push to re-sign Gordon Hayward because
no,
um,
he would have been paid too much money. He was paid 120 million, I think. It's not like okay, no NBA team is that bad where they give like they just be giving away money. There's no way the other teams weren't giving out at least like 100 million.
yeah, maybe you're right about that. Well, I just feel like the Celtics just didn't have another option to rely on after Tatum. He was basically their only option because Brown wasn't there.
Maybe.
So yeah. What are your since we've seen Brooklyn beat Milwaukee in game one, what are your predictions for the rest of the series going forward?
So again, there are two big question marks. So I think the Bucks shot so terribly from three, and it's not the Nets defense. I think they just couldn't hit shots. Now again, this could be like something like the Lakers, where the Lakers just couldn't hit shots either. But I feel the Bucks were actually a good shooting team in the regular season, unlike the Lakers. And I think I think I think the Bucks have a chance to win this. Obviously, it all depends on James Harden right now. If he's there, the Bucks won without him. So if he when he is there, they might. And he's the best player in the engine of that team. So if they can win without him, then it's a big deal for them. But if he's injured for like another like 2 3 games, then yeah, the momentum could swing.
Yeah, I also don't think Blake Griffin is gonna have like that type of game consistently because
Yeah, it was like a real
he,
bounce back game for him.
yeah, for sure. And I'm kind of happy for him though because he's gone through a lot in his career and now he's having a chance to compete for a championship. So
Who
yeah,
was
pretty
Harden?
much. Oh no, Blake Griffin. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay, I don't like him. He's not a good person.
well, yeah, but
He always
yeah,
has like terrible antics. Like I think he stepped over someone yesterday. It was so unnecessary.
yeah,
And like he stepped
I
over
agree
him.
with
Like
you.
if you dunk on someone, would you like in the Allen Iverson thing? Yeah, then you can step over someone. That's like to assert dominance. But like the guy was just on the ground. He just stepped over him. He didn't even do it again.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on, Utah versus Memphis. So, from like what I saw, Memphis won game one because Donovan Mitchell wasn't there. But ever since Donovan Mitchell came back in game two, I think Utah was just clearly the better team because um,
Yeah, they're
they
just
were winning each
outmatched.
game.
This was similar to that. This is almost the exact same as that other series. The other
Celtics.
1-8 series, 76ers and
Oh yeah.
yo, you know that the
No, this
Hawks
this this
Sixers
kind of
game.
resembles me. This kind of to me, this
Hawks,
resembles like
bro,
the.
the Hawks Sixers game it's a 7 point game with 2 minutes left.
Oh yeah, but I just wanted to say this series kind of reminds me of the Celtics series in a way because if John Morant didn't like completely outplay the Jazz, like the Grizzlies had no chance of winning. Kind of how Jason Tatum has to
Exactly, yeah.
completely
Like if
back them up.
Donovan Mitchell was like able to like almost match the production of John Morant, they were gonna lose for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Because like I mean, the Dylan Brooks was also like pretty good, but then Memphis just doesn't have the talent to even compete with them right now. So, but I think they're gonna improve going forward. All right. Moving on to the Clippers versus Dallas. It's a 3-3 matchup right now, and one thing that's interesting about the series is that um both teams have only one away, and going into Game 7, this is going to be an insane matchup. What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I have no clue. I mean, what will you see? Because Kawhi Leonard had like a true masterpiece type game. Like his stats and all that really reminded me of that game LeBron had in against what's his name? Against the Celtics in 2012. But I mean, obviously the stakes were way higher in that game than this game, but still. Like actually, the stakes are really high because if Kawhi got bounced out in the first round after a second round exit last year, after calling themselves, the Kings of LA and how they're gonna take down the Lakers, our city, all that, it would have been really bad. But I don't know.
Yeah. Also, Kawhi is a free agent, and I mean I don't really see him leaving, but then there's always the
I mean, where did
chance
he
that
go?
happens. I mean, everybody's always saying New York or Miami or whatever, but I don't really like see the fit honestly
I
because
kind of see
and
New York because he left. I mean, the reason he left San Antonio was only because of his brand. Okay? I guess you could. It's a really you can get a really big brand
I
in
don't know, but the thing
Africa.
is he's from LA though. Like
I know
so
he's from LA. It's like I don't see him. Obviously, no guy goes to a small market team, but I think I think his, especially if he loses, his reputation will be damaged so much that I think he might have to like care about that a little.
yeah, we'll see going forward. So I think this matchup is. I just want to give a shout out to Luca as well because Luca's just been playing really well, and
I don't think so.
he's only
No, I think
really.
okay. I mean, if we don't talk about his age, I don't want to talk about him. Oh, he's so good. He's 22. All that. If we just take him as a player, then I think he's playing worse than the stats suggest. So
Yeah. I mean,
like
there's one game he
in the
took
last
37
game
shots.
6, in the game 6, he might have had like 35, 40, but he really only had like okay, not 35. He might have had 30, 35, something like that. But he really only had 20 till the end, and then he just scored a bunch in garbage time, and it wasn't actually a meaningful thing. And even then, like he's super inefficient in some games. Of course, he's still amazing. He's still the best player in that series, but like he's not like the true like superstar amazing thing. Like
Yeah, I think this series is really gonna um determine a lot for the Clippers, especially going forward, and we'll see how it goes. Um, talking about I guess we shouldn't preview the second round matchup between Utah and the winner of this because we're not sure who's gonna win. So I think we should move on to Denver versus Portland. So, what were your thoughts on the Denver versus Portland series?
I honestly thought Denver would pull that one out. I mean, not Denver, but Utah, but they just weren't able to, I guess. So not much I can say. I guess Damian Lillard didn't have any help, so not a big deal.
Yeah, I think Denver was just kind of matched them again, and Nikola Jokic had a pretty good series. Like
It
he
was
was pretty
good.
much playing like his regular season stuff. So and it was pretty impressive. So yeah. All right. Moving
So,
on. Phoenix versus the Lakers.
uh, the Lakers are injured. They couldn't hit shots. The Suns were a better team given the Lakers circumstances, and they won. I don't think there's too much to it.
Yeah, I think the Lakers looked worn out, just tired during Game 6. It was just kind of like the end of it for them.
Yo, it's a 3 point game with a minute left.
Yeah. Um. All right. What are your thoughts on Phoenix versus Denver? For me, I feel like I can see both teams winning this because you see Phoenix. I think Denver in 7 for me because I think Nikola Jokic is the best player in the series, and even though
He
Jamal Murray isn't
he
there,
is
I
the
feel
best player
like
in the series, but I don't think that that'll make much of a difference. Oh,
How
Bogdanovich just
many?
pulled three,
Yeah, um how many games do you think Phoenix is gonna win in?
6.
All right.
I think one game the Nuggets will shoot out of their minds, and the other game Jokic will put up 50 or something
You know,
like that.
honestly, I think whoever wins the Milwaukee Brooklyn series is gonna win the title.
Yeah,
It's looking like that right now.
I mean probably. I think the Bucks still could lose if even if they win, but if like the Nets win and they win by like a big margin, like if they win like 5 or something, then it's obviously theirs.
One thing I'll say about the Nets though is all three of them are consistently getting injured, so you never know with
You can't count on them all
how
being
it goes.
healthy.
I know, but like even if like I'm just saying you can't always count on them being healthy
Yeah,
completely.
yeah.
So yeah,
Oh, that's what I meant. I think I said the opposite. Okay, yeah. I think that's all the series we have for now, right?
yeah. Um. All right. Do you want to talk about the Julio Jones trade?
Sure. So the Julio Jones, he got traded to the Titans for like a second round pick, and I think yeah, second round pick. I think the Titans got a good deal. I don't think they'll be able to seriously be contenders.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really see them. Like, I don't think they're gonna still be able to compete with the Chiefs or the Browns or the Bills. I don't even know if they're. I think they're on the level with the Ravens right now. I think they're at that level but I think the Titans' offense is gonna be really scary next year, and having Derrick Henry in the backfield and two extremely talented wide receivers is really gonna help them.
I think this is the season we're gonna see Derrick Henry regress. When I say regress, I don't mean like other running backs where they just become terrible. I think he'll still be like a 1,200 yard rusher, but he won't be the undisputed best running back in the league.
Why do you think that? Just because his body's gonna wear out?
Wear and tear. I mean, he's had like two straight on pace 2,000 yard seasons. I don't think people can do that.
Yeah, I mean that kind of makes sense, but I feel like the load might be a little bit less on him this season, depending on
Then that's the same
how.
thing. If his load is less, his production is less.
Yeah,
Either
but
way, he's scoring less.
yeah, one thing that's impressive with Derrick Henry is even though he gets a lot of carries, he averages like 5 yards per carry, which is pretty impressive because for the amount of carries he gets, like he's not just averaging like 3 or 4 yards per carry. He's consistently running for high
Yeah, I
yards.
still think he's gonna uh, fall off a bit.
But yeah, I don't think the Titans are on the level with the Chiefs even with this trade. So I think the Chiefs are still like a whole level ahead of them, and I
No,
don't think they can compete with each.
I think the Chiefs are the best team, but I'd have to pick like the Browns or the Bills to make the Super Bowl.
Wait, why do you think that?
Just continuity. Like no team does it that often, that easily. Like something they're the best team right now, undisputed. I'm not gonna say the Browns or the Bills are better, but um, I just don't feel that. I just don't feel like that they can do it again for another year.
I also think that it's really easy in the NFL to lose a game because it's just one game. It's
Yeah,
not like an
exactly.
NBA series. Like
But how many things have to go right for that to happen? I mean, yeah, the Chiefs are the best team on paper, but that didn't mean that they had to win. They could have what's it
yeah.
called?
No, like let's say Tyreek Hill makes one fumble. That could actually change like the whole
The
outcome of
one
their
that gets
like
injured or
season.
something. Like Mahomes is injured last year, so like if he gets injured for like a little longer,
Yeah. Okay. Do you have anything else to say?
not really.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to the internship podcast. We'll see you in the next episode.
Yep.